Alrighty guys, I'm back for yet another Pokemon D Arts figure review video, and finally I have completed my Kanto starters line, and I've picked up the Pokemon Blastoise here, who is actually quite large and taking up a whole lot of my screen, but more than likely it is actually this giant box of his back here that's taken up that giant bit of the screen. To show just how big the Blastoise is compared to everybody else with everything else he comes with, I'm going to actually start with the box and accessories before we get into him. So, though he's very awesome, I'm going to have to set him aside for now and get into the box itself that he will come in, which is, as you can see, quite massive, barely fitting on my screen. Actually, it's not fitting on my screen completely. There's the top of it. Anyway, we see the front here. This plastic inside is where you're going to see Blastoise. Printed in here. It says Comics, which is his Japanese name. It should be a sticker. This blue part should be a sticker if you want to check and make sure yours is real or not. There's a couple ways to check. Some people have been making fakes of these things. There's an icon, silhouette of Blastoise up here. It says Comics again, another bit of art. The boxes on these just look great. They put so much money and effort, I think, into making these look great, and they do. Here's a foil Blastoise logo. Then on the back here we can see a bunch of different poses they've got there. Blastoise in. They show the hydro cannons that he's going to come with and the base stand. Really not many poses you can get this Blastoise into, but they do show a couple. Like, you probably recognize this from one of the Game Boy games. When Blastoise would come out, he would look over his shoulder a little smugly. And other than that, he's just kind of standing there and shooting cannons, which is cool. There's that other side we didn't see. Probably you would have seen Blastoise in there. There is a base stand that says Comics, Comics, Comics in a circle that I just didn't take out. It's more box art for me, even though I kind of think they want you to use it for display. There's another one of those foil Blastoise things. We looked at the top already, we did. And then the bottom is a bunch of Japanese garble I can't read, but it says DRs one more time and a bunch of other stuff. So, whatever. There's the box. I can now take it off the screen. Yay! So, now it's time to... Well, I'll show you the accessories first, because then we can play with Blastoise and that'll be awesome. There's these two clear plastic hydro water cannons, which I'm glad they're clear and not blue, because water isn't blue. And this would look really cool with him when he's posed on his base, because he actually needs the base to hold him up occasionally when he is shooting the cannons. It depends on what direction you put him in, but you will need this for extra support occasionally, once in a while. If you haven't seen these bases already, for the Pokemon D Arts, they come with this clear plastic Pokeball shape. This grid that you're seeing is just for extra support, so that it's not actually, a flimsy base. It's very sturdy. And then it'll come with this pegged in. Oh, it popped out too. That's supposed to come out. Actually, no, it's not. This is a pegged in arm that will support Blastoise. It does pop right out in case you just want to put him on the base. But anyway, this arm that I just popped apart pivots right here, similar to the way a Figma joint will work on their stands, except it doesn't go in any farther than that. There's a little white peg, a little clear plastic piece on there to attach to this clear plastic hook, which doesn't have a lot of force into it, but it will at least mold to the shape you need, typically, and it should hold up Blastoise. And that's generally all you need to know about the stand. Like I said, the water cannons, they pop right in to his cannon parts already, and away you go. So let's just get this out of the way. I'll bring these in a bit, so we can start looking at Blastoise himself here. So like I said, I wanted to do some size comparisons. So just to show you how big the Blastoise is, here's an example of the Venusaur next to him, which I know Pokedex-wise, Venusaur is supposed to be much larger, but it really doesn't matter. I made a video on the Venusaur already saying that it's probably a little undersized, but considering that these are highly posable figures, there's not much they could really do to make Venusaur much larger, or the size he really should have been, which was probably like this on your screen. So anyway, that's him next to Venusaur, and here's him next to the very massive Charizard, if I can even get it in here. Charizard is a little bit taller, which I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be. The tail for Charizard is just very, very, very long, and doesn't even want to fit on screen very nicely here. making me wonder how I even filmed him to begin with. There he is, slightly behind Blastoise, Blastoise slightly behind him. So as you can see, they're basically about the same size. So that's pretty cool because they're quite large. And Blastoise, being quite a beefy guy to begin with, makes it a pretty huge figure. So let's just quickly show you how the hydro cannons work, and then I'll get into all the posability on Blastoise. So let's see, these should just go right in here. Sometimes I twist it just to make it fit a little bit better. And I'll put the other one in, might as well. See if we can get him to stand without it. His toes will move, we'll see that. The cannons, now that we're already talking about the posability, we'll go up here first. Once you get these in, they're easier to move. You can pretty much move the cannons. As you can see, they're pretty far. It's as far down as they'll go. And the cannon will actually go up really high as well. It'll move a little bit forward and backward. So you can see that gives you a very large range of where you actually want to aim these things. The only thing is if you say you wanted to aim them perfectly straight, you really can't do it. Mine keeps popping out for some reason right there. I'm going to have to mess with it at one point. But they can't quite go straight ahead, as you see. I mean, from the side it's pretty close, but forward angle, you can see you can't quite do it. And then I don't really see the purpose of ever shooting like that. I don't know, maybe post something where he wanted to shoot in 2 different directions, but I don't really know. But whatever, he typically will stand with them in, so I don't know why they really gave us the stand. They might have if he was bending over a lot and trying to shoot these things. But either way, I rarely use his arm on the stand. If I use the stand at all, it's just him standing on that base, because he doesn't really need it. So just for making this easier, I'm going to pop these back out again. And we'll go into Blastoise now. We already started a bit on the hydro cannons, but I want to kind of get into those really quick, just because mine are a little weird. You can see this one is pegged in, looks really high, and this one looks correct. It's like right in the center where it should be. Maybe there's just something angled wrong in my Blastoise, but I've tried to fix it and I can't get it to work. Because of that, this one is a little limited in how far it can move. Kind of disappointing. And as you can notice right now, for where we are on his back shell, the #1 thing that I would have said that I definitely want on a posable Blastoise is for these cannons to pop out and shut, which you already saw they pop out, but they don't shut. So that is really disappointing. They will pop out, and we could have just, replaced it with a shell piece that just clips onto his back and looks like it's shut, but they are perpetually open. So whatever, I mean, it's no big deal. It's really nitpicky. I think Blastoise only closes them in the show. I don't even think he can in the video game. I haven't seen him do it, but probably can. So now that we're looking here all over his back, the shell, there's nothing else on that shell that's going to move. It's basically one piece. His shell to his belly to all this stuff molded together. It is all one humongous, humongous piece. That is definitely a word, by the way. And his neck, as we see here, is actually on one joint, and then this ring, kind of like on the Venusaur's legs, is just a, not really a joint, but it's like a space filler, so that we don't look into it and see the joints moving around, right? So, I mean, it's no big deal. It's pretty cool. Helps his neck move in basically any direction. I believe it's in a ball joint in there. You can pretty much twist it any way you want. You can move his head about that far side to side and about that much up and down. And then as you saw, you can do any twisting. So it's pretty posable. Kind of wish you could go a little bit farther just to get that look over the shoulder. The only way to really do it is to twist the head, otherwise he just looks like he's looking off in the distance. Kind of looks like he's tipping his head, but in actuality he looks like this from the front, so it's a little strange. But no big deal, still looks cool. Now the arms. Online, the arms look great. You look at them and you're like, how on earth does that arm work? That looks amazing. And they look great, but posing them is actually not great. And that's because the only posability in his arms is actually his elbow. See that joint right there? The elbow. Now, it's really not that big of a deal because it still looks very good that they keep that ball. There you see that sliding joint right there now. They keep the arm segments looking like the ball like they should be, which is cool. And you have a little bit, with force, you have a little bit of mobility in the shoulder, but I hear it squeaking and stuff, and I really don't want to screw with it. So basically, it's like if you imagine trying to pose yourself like you want him to look like, and you are not allowed to move your shoulders or your hands, only your elbows. You imagine it starts looking a little strange. Yeah, so, yeah, there he goes again. Yeah, a little force, you can get that shoulder to move. Maybe it's just mine. Yep, I really don't like screwing with it. So anyway, we kind of passed up a bit on his head. His mouth will open. Come on. Whoop. Not that far. And he does not have a posable tongue like Charizard does. He's more like the Venusaur. He's got a very large mouth. Quite big. I'm just going to shut it for now. That's about as far shut as it will go, so if you can't quite get it to shut, that's shut all the way. I think I had a point where I couldn't get it to shut all the way. Now the fingers. Now that we can get really close up here and take a look at these fingers, each one is on a very little joint. It does actually add a lot to his posing when you can move these, because it'll slightly make him look like he's got more of an open hand versus more of a fist, but it's very subtle. It's not very easy to notice that. The joints really don't move very much. I'm trying to move him as far as I can to show you, but that his middle finger right there is not even moving. There, see his elbow's doing some weird stuff. Yeah, it's basically impossible to move those, which is kind of upsetting because it's like one of the only things you can actually move on this figure. I think I mainly got him for completionist's sake, just because I have the other, the Mewtwo, the Venusaur, and the Charizard. So like, well, why would I not have Blastoise? I love Blastoise. We'll get into all this stuff later. So, legs. The legs move about that much in terms of up and down. They basically don't. And you can turn them, which will actually add a bit of posability with him. You can get him to bend over more if you say turn them in. Move those up. See what I mean? But it's still kind of difficult to get him to do that. There's typically one spot where you'll have the legs and you'll never really move them again. The feet do have a joint in there, but you can pretty much pretend that it doesn't exist because you have to hang onto the toes to even try and wiggle it a bit, and it doesn't really move. The toes, as we saw earlier, do move. Some of them more than others, and I don't understand why. This kind of just goes up and down, I think, just to help them stand if you're bending them over like that. Same for that one. And then I have one of these toes that moves a lot. Yeah, this one. This one, like, looks like it's broken. I don't know what's the deal with it. And then this doesn't move, see? So, kind of pointless, but really don't know what the deal is with that. His tail will also wiggle if you need be to make his tail wiggle. You can do it. Paint-wise, there's a couple marks on mine. Like, that spot on his toe is pretty obvious because it's black and irritating to look at. Really don't know what the deal is with this figure compared to the others. Sorry, I'm moving the camera. Would have expected the Venusaur to actually be the worst posed one, but Blastoise, I think actually wasn't done very well, though I really like him. Posing wise, I don't think he was done very well because he had a lot of opportunity. I think the neck though is probably his best feature. He could have had a lot of posability, even though I know it's a giant shell. What more could you ask to put into this turtle? But the legs really can't move at all. The arms are very difficult to move, and the fingers don't really give you much personality, even though they're all jointed. And these gun parts are a little awkward. Mine keeps popping out. And the tail really was pointless, but at least it was an addition that they added. So, really not sure what to say about the Blastoise. I think what I was trying to say was that I think he had a higher potential for movement versus, say, Venusaur, who I would look at and say there's nothing you could do with the Venusaur, and they actually did a great job of getting him to get into a lot of different poses. I still really like the Blastoise. I'm glad I picked him up to go with my other D-Arts, who I might as well add into the background here. So, the Blastoise is still a really cool one. If you want to make the other D-Arts look great together, you gotta have that Blastoise, especially if you already own the Charizard and the Venusaur. So, anyway, I picked up this Blastoise for, I believe it was 80, actually, including shipping and everything, which, was actually the most I've paid for any of my D-Arts figures, and I mainly did it just because his price was going up and up and up and up, and I just said, darn it, I'm just gonna have to suck it up and spend a lot to get this Blastoise to get my D-Arts collection complete, and I do now, so that's great. He is a pretty nice figure. I do really like him, but it is kind of a shame that the one that I spent the most on was probably the least posable of the D-Arts Pokemon, but granted, it's still Blastoise, like I said. Not much you could ask for, even though I was proven wrong with Venusaur being very posable and doing a lot of cool stuff. But whatever, whatever, whatever. So let's get into some final shots so we can do the photography rundown of the Blastoise or Comics D-Arts Pokemon figure. Alright, so now that we have a chance for one last look at this D-Arts Blastoise figure, I would like to point out that the whole time through this video, I'm mainly talking about the joints and things like that for how the figure is being posed, and I really didn't get a good chance to say how great it really does look once you get it into a pose that you do like. So don't take everything that I'm saying like, oh man, I guess that Blastoise really isn't that great of a figure. It really is. It's really cool. I really like it. His colors are great. He's a great addition to the other D-Arts figures set. He looks fantastic with the rest of them, and I'm really glad that I did go ahead and get him. So I really like the way he looks. There are some scratches occasionally on his paint that make him look just a little so-so. A little disappointing. I've seen some on several D-Arts Blastoise videos that people have had. They've mainly started complaining about chips in the paint and different nicks and things like that that either went through packaging or I'm not sure what it was that would have caused those scratches, but there are occasionally scratches on the Blastoises. But aside from that, his paint looks great. His sculpting looks pretty good. Some people do point out that he seems to be missing one of his toes. Don't know why, but it's really not that big of a deal. His posing is really difficult, and honestly, because of all that, I'm probably going to have to pick him like a 6 or 7 out of 10. I'm probably going to go with 7 just because he does look really great. All the problems are basically with the posing and a couple of nicks in the paint and things that just kind of bring the figure down a little bit. But he's still a very great addition to any either Blastoise fans collection or Pokemon fan. If you have the other D-Arts Pokemon and you're just looking at Blastoise, you really should get him because you're going to realize just by putting him with the other ones, just the color he adds to the scene of what you're setting up, he's just such a great addition, and I really do enjoy having my Blastoise. So that's all for this video. I'm going to see you guys in the next figure review video.